Welcome to Stand for the Land, and I'm Virginia Maka, and you probably have seen me traveling the roads of Kansas to local meetings and dragging my little trailer around that says, Stand for the Land. It's that important for your community and your family to stand up and be heard and preserve freedom. Freedom is the one thing that keeps you being able to live the American dream. And the American dream is secured because of land ownership, and it's in our Constitution, and that our forefathers really thought a lot about ownership of land. And so we're very attached to our land. I am, and the meetings I go to, I see a lot of passion, and for all the thousands of people that have showed up, given hours and hours of their time in attending meetings and holding public officials accountable, thank you. You are what drives me every day, answers the phone calls, the calls to action. I offer advice. I try to help you as much as I can, but you have taken this to another level. And so today I have this wonderful thing to unroll, and I get to do it with two of my favorite people. Jennifer Williams, she is from Miami County. You probably know Jennifer, and welcome to the show, Jennifer.
Thank you for having me.
She is one woman that knows her taxes. And Carrie Barth, it used to be Representative Carrie Barth, and she served in the Kansas House. She was a hell on wheels. I'm just going to say it, hell on wheels. This is the lady that wants the truth. You speak the truth and you have nothing to worry about. And Carrie has battled some of the biggest battles I've ever seen and always stood for the right thing. And she moved to a different house in a different district, and she gave up her house seat, as she should, according to the law. And Carrie is just a warrior. So today, we would like to talk about why is our quality of life being lessened by implementing policies that don't match the way that we live in Kansas? It affects our land, our quality of water, and our environment, our children. There's so many things going on, from data centers to wind to solar to it just seems like the world's upside down. And all those things we respected, the environment, how we live, where we choose to live, our seniors not being able to live in their homes from high taxes, and moms, homeschool moms, leading groups against data centers. It has been a conversation, and our elected officials are missing in action. They seem to cling to these bad policies, unwilling to converse about them, hold public hearings. They find us a little bit, too egregious in the public forum because we didn't do anything wrong. But when you don't have that conversation, when you don't open the dialogue to public, input, this is what you get, right? Yep. You get a lot of people all vended up. And so I thought about that a lot, and I asked my friends about that, and we put together what we call the gold standard. We have no guardrails on or how to implement data centers, or what's a good policy to protect our environment and our health, and just our quality of water. And it seems as though nobody wants to listen, so we created our own gold standards. And we want to have that public conversation. And so the gold standard will be something led by not public officials, but by you, by the moms and the pops and the families. We have seen some stellar people show up that have some very, a high degree of knowledge of some of what's going on in policies, and actually scientific data that's not even being talked about. And what we want to do, we'll just create our own standards. So the gold standard is the bar. We're going to lift the bar for you. Your expectations of life in Kansas should be at a higher quality. You deserve it, and we should demand it. And so today, let's just start with a little bitty problem around this big metropolis of Johnson County and Miami County. Let's talk about data centers. They are popping up like bad news. And these two women here have been at the forefront of it because they live it. And I would like to just ask them, what action did you take this week? I mean, what have you heard? Let's just start with Osawatomie because that seems to be the hot topic.
Yeah. Go ahead, you start on Osawatomie because I've got about 3 of them going on right now.
Okay, so where do we start? Because I feel like there's so many things we do behind the scenes. When people tell me, oh, I'm busy all the time, I'm thinking, oh my gosh,
Busy, right?
you don't know busy like until you really have been busy. So I actually have been emailing Brett Glendenning, who is the city administrator for the city of Osawatomie. I actually had a phone call with him last Friday. And you might be asking, why am I calling Brett Glendenning? I don't even live in Osawatomie. I don't live in Miami County. I live in Johnson County now, and yet Osawatomie was in my Kansas House District 5 when I was a representative. I just really care about the people. And I don't like what the legislature did with putting in a tax exemption for data centers, which now has opened up the floodgates of terror on people's lives. And people everywhere are dealing with this. So I had a phone call with him. I wanted to ask some questions. And so I had a list of questions I wanted to ask him. I was taking notes the entire time. I recapped those notes. I sent them over to Brett. He has responded to me since then, given his responses to the different things. And you know, everybody tells me it seems like they're doing things behind the scenes, that they are already got this decided and figured out. And guess what? The conversation we had a lot of the things already planned. He already has told me exactly that they're going to give 50% property tax abatements to data center. And there's no proposal yet. He told me that. But it's the exact same playbook every single time. It doesn't matter if it's data centers, wind, solar, industrial, of any of these things, battery storage, substations, transmission lines. These all have things that are tied to it. And so that's what I did. And then I had a conversation with a few more people about these things. And I mean, the list kind of goes on, but that's one of the key things I've done in the last week about data centers and trying to figure out information.
Well, okay, so I saw a TV news clip of walking door to door. What is that all about in Osawatomie? Because she was passionate about a petition.
Yeah. Yes.
So that's what I've been working on this week.
Yeah.
So
There
it's
you
not
go.
just in Osawatomie, but there's an option. So what we have, just as Carrie mentioned, in Osawatomie, you have proposed ideas. The people come out and speak against these things. The next day, the developer puts on city letterhead that or using a city stamp, I should say, that they're proceeding with the project, but a project's never been voted on. It's never been presented. So what project are we beginning with, right? And so as they see that it doesn't matter what the people say, their representatives aren't necessarily representing the majority. Now, there are some opponents. There are some proponents in this. And so, who is the bigger voice? At this point, it's the opponents. But when they feel their representatives aren't representing, Kansas statute gives us the opportunity to put a ballot initiative. So they go and get petition signed that they can put an ordinance on before city council that they can accept, or it goes to a vote for the people. And so in that gives them the opportunity to ban or put guardrails or whatever that they feel the need is for a topic that they feel they're not being listened to. And so in Osawatomie, they were working independently on several different petitions that didn't make their way through. They do finally have one that I believe hasn't been officially accepted, but it is one that they believe is going to be. And so once we have that in place, then now we also have Gardner. I was at their meeting Was it just this last Monday?
You are busy.
They wanted a moratorium, and the city council members would not agree with that. So if this goes through in Osawatomie, Gardner will be presented potentially with citizens going to get signatures. Spring Hill, Edgerton currently has a Dubai company wanting a moratorium. Edgerton does not have any zoning in their Unified Development Code. There's no zoning that even allows data centers, not as a variance, not as an accepted use. They've tried back in November, because they work many months on these ahead of time, and they tried back in November to push that data center under warehouses. And now the citizens are saying, no, that's not a warehouse. This isn't even an acceptable use in our Unified Development Code. The city council members, planning commissioners are being threatened by their city staff. If you don't approve this, we will be sued. So this leads us to due process. If they have their mind made up before they get there, if they're being threatened by staff who has their mind made up, do the citizens have due process? Are the citizens really represented? If you show up to a meeting and you already know how you're going to vote, that is not due process. That's just following the legal channels necessary to have the meeting to shut the people up. But thankfully, people aren't shutting up. You know, I love it, because they're finally recognizing that when representatives don't represent, we need another option to enforce and protect our freedoms that were promised and guaranteed. And so hopefully these ballot initiatives will move forward and give people a voice to actually have a say in their government.
So you said something that was really interesting, because I saw a clip on the news of the mayor of Osawatomie speaking on the news, and he had no idea about that press release that came out in Osawatomie. It was the developer who put that press release together. I mean, when you talk about due process, that should be illegal. That should be someone going after that company saying, you can't do that. That is a misuse of the city's name. It's a misuse of
Maybe somebody going after the city staff.
Somebody want the city staff? Okay.
You know, somebody knew, right? And if they didn't know and it came out that next day and it looked like such a slap in the face to the citizens, they all just came and poured their heart out in a beautiful outpouring as a community. And by 10 o'clock the next morning, we're moving on with the project.
Yeah.
We've seen the powers in numbers. The powers of numbers of people showing up have literally stopped commissioners from moving forward in their tracks. And so in Sedgwick County, because it is not just Johnson County, it is the entire state of Kansas, as well as Oklahoma, Colorado, Texas. It is nationwide. And I want to thank Aaron Brockovich for doing the map. I mean, Aaron Brockovich created this map. People are tracking these data centers. They are popping up everywhere, even the smallest communities. And in Sedgwick County, this was a done deal. I mean, the commissioners were moving so fast, and this girl named Caitlin, a stay-at-home mom, little homeschool mom, wanted to give her kids the same life that she had when she was growing up, the quality of rural life, being a farmer. And there was a huge battery storage going to be right across the street from her. And the first meeting I met with her, she said to me, I don't know what I'm doing. She goes, I've never been in this position. I haven't ever had a parking ticket. And I looked at her and I said, you spoke up. And so people are looking for a leader. That one voice, your voice, will create millions. And in overnight, she had 400 people on a Facebook page. She had really stellar people, educated people, and they wrote their own standards.
That's great.
And so these city staffs are adapting to standards written by the data centers. And it seems to be a little bit vague, maybe say vague. And so, Carrie?
Yes, I can help you out there. So speaking of standards of data centers, so during that conversation with Brett Glendenning, the city administrator of Osawatomie, he had shared with me that they had already had an independent third-party study done on that $30 million that he said the city was going to make in revenue from the data center. And I thought, oh, okay, well, who is this independent firm? How was it paid for? I bet everybody on the camera knows exactly who paid for that data center because it's the same thing every time. The developer paid for it. So what does that mean? It means that they're going to have exactly the responses and things that they wanted to say. And guess what? It's always overstated because government never understates anything when it comes to projections of revenue. So anyway, it's disheartening. I told him, I said, that is super biased. And he's like, okay, that's fair. And then he's like, but they're going to do an environmental study too. And I'm like, same company. Like, that's so biased. Like, we know exactly what the results of that one are going to be. So the people, like, not just Osawatomie, like everybody is fighting these. I mean, Spring Hill's been fighting one. Ottawa is fighting one in Franklin County. I mean, they're everywhere. And these are the ones we really are talking about, except for Sedgwick County. Like, this is just in this one, like, 4-county geography.
Exactly.
Well, on your points about the developer paid for independent third-party study, that topic came up in Gardner this week.
Did it?
And so in the moratorium discussion, they actually started stating, city council members said, why would the city pay for this? Let's not put in a moratorium. Let's let the developers bring a project forward and let them pay for the study. I don't know.
Isn't that genius?
Yes.
So, you know,
Independent study.
I have been in construction all my life. I have been before boards, licensing, city councils, getting approval on projects. And every time I had to come with stacks and stacks of approval papers and forms and applications signed off by engineers, and that every detail is gone through so that my project would meet standards. And I have yet to see, not even a site plan on a battery plant or a battery storage. I have yet to see any plans put forward of what these data centers even look like, or what that power, or what, you know, even how to handle the toxic waste that comes off the batteries and or the chips. And so those are all missing in the standards, and every one of those things affect our health. It affects our children. Even the tonal noise, the vibrations affect our animals in our stock. And so we're learning a lot about it, but to go forward without any guardrails, to go forward just on a whim that you're going to get, what are they getting?
$250 million IRB for whatever sales
tax we're paying for?
Yeah.
So I am asking our audience, they're probably thinking, how do we get to a gold standard? How do we get those guardrails? And the answer is we have to have a conversation, and it counts for everyone to participate. That means you, that means all the people in Kansas across this Midwest that have the talent and the information and the science backed behind them to join in this conversation and create the highest bar you can in standards. And so, Carrie, a little bit of thought about that, because I know Carrie does a lot of thinking about this.
Yeah, okay, so for fun, one weekend, I just decided to sit down on my computer and started typing up an agenda of some gold standards that I thought that the people should have. If there are data centers, which they already exist, we were gonna have more data centers exist, what should that entail? So there are protections for the people, because, I mean, I don't know about you, but you're, I think, doing some construction on your house. There's a lot of regulations that you have to follow in order for there to be safety. So shouldn't these data centers have that same protection and safety?
Exactly.
So I've reached out to an industrial hygienist who is an expert in the field of safety and deals a lot with OSHA and consults with companies, looks at workplace safety for employees, make sure that's not, you know, carcinogenic, and, you know, making sure the environment and the community around there is also protected so that we don't have water shortages and we don't have water runoff that's contaminated where everybody in the area then is suffering, and, you know, we don't want animals that are not able to get pregnant. So because of the tonal noise, which, by the way, I learned is a military torture tactic. So the fact that these data centers do this is, and I don't think it's all data centers, I think there's some that don't, but like, how about we bring the experts forward that really are gonna help us with creating that so that we don't have these issues? And there aren't any. And right now, you know, we've got these cities trying to figure this out, and they are not experts either. And I would rather we, the people and not government, do these things.
Exactly.
The problem is they're not experts, but they see tax dollars.
Oh, they
Perceived down the road someday, promised if they don't pull out before their tax incentives.
Their
are
vision's
done,
blurred.
Right? It is. They even said that in Gardner. The mayor went on to say, "You saw our budget increases at the beginning of the meeting. This is going to bring in a lot of money."
Stop increasing the budget, right?
Stop the spending.
Yeah, please.